From Studio 1A in Tampa, Florida, comes a talk show that really feels your pain and tells you like it is. We love America and all that freedom-loving Americans want to protect. Live from coast to coast and on your radio, it's For the People with Keith Allen.
We'll help you survive this thing called life. We're for the people. Whatever your source of stress or strife, for the people is there.
Well, hello, Mr. and Mrs. America. I am Keith Allen and proudly welcoming you to this Monday's edition of For the People. It's June the 26th and it's 2017. We've expanded the broadcast. We did have some, it just always happens like that. Something new happens. And for our podcasters, you just are getting now the second hour, but for whatever reason, there was some gremlins in the system. But anyhow, we officially have gone 2 hours. So instead of just 1 hour, now 2, and heard across America on many stations and on podcast as well. And we couldn't have done this without our valuable supporters that have stepped up to the plate and really have encouraged me to go beyond what we have done. And we've pushed a little bit more forward. And, you know, dreams can come true. Make no mistake about it. And, you know, it's interesting when somebody has a vision and they get something in their head and so early. And such was the case with me when I was little. I desired to be on the radio. I was exposed to radio early as a boy. My dad was an engineer and took me around some great radio stations across the country. But in New York City, I really got to see radio in action at WMCA back in the 80s when Strauss Communications owned it. And it's then that I really took a liking to communication, talk radio, and just everything that was involved in it seemed like the ticket. It's a lot of hard work. It really is. You have to be astute. You have to be kind of a nerd, if you will, and like news and like learning and constantly learning. And it's just so many more things than even just that, because I know a lot of book smart people, and it just doesn't translate that great. They're great guests for a minute or two, but to be able to long form, to do talk radio, and to have somebody be on the radio that will hold your attention and have the desire to actually tune in for a broadcast, they have to have something more than just, you know, here's what's happening kind of a thing. It's they have to have an opinion of themselves. And I think a lot of it has to do with the way that they see the world and personality. I think it really has something to do with it. And really, that's been really true with radio. For instance, from its inception, it's personality driven. And I think radio will eventually come back to its roots, where people actually entertain people. With talk radio informed them. It just was a well-rounded talk show host. And, you know, I've done music radio, but talk radio has been good to me. I've been doing it for a long, long time. Got in it in 86, started doing voiceover in addition to radio, and been able to meet celebrities and politicians and just have had a blast. And working with Chuck Harder, who was the founder of this broadcast, really gave me an opportunity to be able to reach his audience. And that's been incredible as we relaunched it over 2 years ago. So next March will be 3 years that I've been on doing this broadcast. So it's growing. And again, thank you. And I appreciate that. And get the word out, if you will. Eric Trump, Donald Trump's son, he was on some of the Sunday morning programs talking about his dad, obviously, which you know is Donald Trump. You knew that, right? Of course you did. But talking about the recent garbage going on with these celebrities like Johnny Depp, what he said about assassinating the president and things like that, and really his reaction to all of this. And, you know, it's not just Donald Trump, but it's his family, too, that's been affected. And this is what he had to say about all of this.
I have a pregnant wife. She's 7 months pregnant. If you saw some of the comments that she receives from people, I mean, I couldn't even say them honestly on the air because they're so ghastly, but they're willing to attack a pregnant lady, somebody who's 7 months pregnant, if they're willing to attack an 11-year-old boy, meaning, my brother Barron, who's in the White House and at, a fragile age, if they're willing to go after my half-sister Tiffany, 22 years old, who's going to law school, there is no borders for these people. Listen, we're fair game, fine. We're adults, but there are no borders for these people. And you see Johnny Depp and what he said. I'd like to go assassinate the president. It's like Johnny Depp has his own problems. He has his own problems. Yeah. Like, how about you go back to making movies and doing your own thing? This is a man who gave up his life to try and help this country, and he's doing a great, great job. And honestly, I couldn't be more proud of him.
The severed head, you think that would have been enough because, Kathy Griffin, pretty much her career, at least right now, looks like it's over. Now, to the credit, perhaps, of Johnny Depp, he later apologized for the comment in a statement to People magazine, calling the remark a bad joke. But isn't the only celebrity who had suggested violence towards the president prior to the election. In October, actor Robert De Niro said in an outtake from hashtag Vote Your Future ad that he'll like to punch Trump in the face. Singer Madonna said in January at the Women's March in Washington that she thought that she wanted to blow up the White House. She thought long and hard about it. These threats are not taken lightly by the Trumps. The president's son said his father is focused on his job as commander-in-chief and improving the lives of American citizens through economic and political policies. He said, I'm going to improve the economy. I'm going to create jobs for this country. We're going to stop getting ripped off as a nation. I'm going to take care of our veterans. I'm going to take care of health care. I'm going to reduce taxes. He's doing everything that he says. He's been in office for 150-something days, and I think that he's accomplished more than any other president, arguably in history, has over the same time period. Folks, it's true. It's factual. And to hear the disdain, the hatred, this is the narrative, and this is gonna be Hollywood because it doesn't fit their narrative. And that's always been such the case where people have been outspoken in the country. It's when you lie about things. And that's been the problem. And that's why I decided I wanted to come onto the radio and set things right from the very beginning. And I knew Trump was going to encounter problems. I knew that the fake media, CNN, MSNBC, CBS, ABC, all of them were going to gang up against him. We predicted that Donald Trump would win from the very beginning. Because it's a message that this country's been building towards since GATT and NAFTA. I had an opportunity to work with Chuck's People's Network, and I toured the factories that where people used to work. I toured the cities, the towns that dried up. The banks are gone. The convenience stores are gone. The people are gone because they no longer can sustain themselves. The untold suicide stories where people have killed themselves because there's no work. Those stories. And how people's livelihoods have dried up, and that has brought depression across the country. And we've been able to feel it because when people's lives are destroyed, it sounds like a country song played backwards. It's just a horrible thing, and I've seen it firsthand, and it's broken my heart. And as a result, thank God we still have a microphone and we're able to get out there and where the people are that listen to radio still and podcasts and need to have this information brought to them, served up nice and fresh. And that's something that we do each and every day. So anyways, another hour. Share the show if you like the show, like we'd like to say. But the hour is kind of a big deal. So if you want to spread that along, that would be great. Fox News Media Buzz. Sean Spicer had a nice interview with Howard Kurtz and spent a little time with Sean Spicer. And I had some kind of thoughts about it because the liberal media is kind of making a big deal out of, well, the press conferences themselves are not how they traditionally are. And it's kind of comical in a way, but it's clever in another. And it just seems like this is the strategery, if I can use that word, that George W. used out of the Trump administration that I think is so brilliant, and that is that they're panning the opticals to the wall, a picture of the White House instead of Sean Spicer and the press corps. And what I think is happening here is they're doing a timeout to the media. Timeout. He's put Donald Trump, he's ordered it, on a timeout. It's because of they're trying to spin it, they're trying to aggravate, they're trying to disrupt from the agenda the things that are going on that are good. They're not reporting on it, and they're trying to get I got you questions all along. This is their narrative. This is what they're doing. Well, we're not going to be able to grandstand anymore. We're not going to be able to get away with it. How long that happens, I have no idea, but I think it's a great strategy. Who else has done that? See, this is not your dad's Bonneville. This is not your dad's White House. This has changed. And this is the change that Donald Trump has promised. And I think it's a beautiful thing. I'm not upset that I don't see the press corps and the faces that you see on television. I think it's great. It's a timeout. Maybe it'll make him think. He doesn't have, there's nothing in the Constitution that says that you have to pan to the press secretary or pan to the media. They're given a lot of time to spin garbage and to make Trump look like a buffoon. It's what they like to do. It's what they want to do. And it's become a joke. So in a way, again, he's thrown this back on them. And here it is that we're talking about it. They're talking about it, but they don't like it because now they don't have the eye candy. So when they ask you these got you questions, they're not able to see the facial expressions of annoyance or disdain. That's a tough position, a pressure cooker position to be as a press secretary. You can imagine having that job, but they don't have that video, that roll-in to use. So it kind of pisses them off to a great extent. But I think, again, I was thinking about it. I think that's brilliant. I think it's a great idea. Who else does this but Donald Trump? But good for him. I clap. I mean, this is more powerful than the tweets, the message that he sends them. But this is definitely what I like to call a timeout for the media. Timeout. He's put him in the corner. He's put a dunce cap on the media. They needed a dunce cap a long time ago. But he's used the media to his advantage from day one. And had he not done this, he would have never won anything, and he wouldn't have been able to get the victories. But he has the media still eating out of the palm of his hand because he switches it up. He's so many steps ahead of them, it's not even funny. And this is a good thing and should be congratulated. But don't underestimate Donald Trump and what he's doing. This is part of the strategy of what I call Drain the Swamp 101 out of his playbook of strategery. I love the word, thanks to George W., but that strategery is part of the master plan. He's a builder. He tells everybody he's a builder, but that's what he does. And there's always a reason behind it. There's a strategy, and any good company has one. In this country, unfortunately, folks, it hasn't had a great strategy in 8 years. 8 years. I mean, it's a long time. And having a former CEO, a real estate mogul, owning just some of the world's best properties, to be able to run our country, kind of like a great CEO in a big company, to be able to run this responsibly, not irresponsibly, the undertaking is enormous. To be able to look through the book, so to speak, and to find and put people in charge to be able to make sure that we're not bleeding, we're not being taken advantage of and being raped, so to speak, which we have. But the reason that this has happened is because of a lot of people that are in that swamp in D.C. that have allowed it to happen. Like I mentioned the first hour, the Dems knew about all of this Russia stuff, just like Obama knew all along that they were meddling in the election, but they just let it go like Obama did. These people know. They're in the know. They're right there.